Did you just put the ring on, or are you in the first few years of your marriage? Welcome to the First Year Marriage Show, a podcast dedicated to helping newlyweds navigate the first few years of marriage. My husband, Marcus, and I will be sharing marriage tips to help you build a strong foundation for your marriage. We believe having a strong foundation is essential to having a happy, healthy, and lasting marriage. We will also be learning from the experiences of awesome married couples who have been where you are today, taking from them lessons to help you build a strong foundation for the lasting marriage you desire. Take a deep breath, relax, learn, and enjoy the show. Hey, it's Ashley Kusi. Thanks for listening to another episode of the First Year Marriage Show. Before we begin today's episode, we want to thank My Real Salt for leaving us a review and rating on iTunes this week. If you haven't left us a review, please visit firstyearmarriage.com/iTunes or firstyearmarriage.com/Stitcher. Your review helps this show rank higher in iTunes so that other couples can discover this podcast. Stay tuned after the episode for a special announcement.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the First Year Marriage Show. Today's podcast interview is going to be between me and Kimanzi Constable and Tanya Constable. They've been married for more than 15 years, have 3 energetic kids, and they live in Maui, Hawaii. Kimanzi is an author, speaker, life and business coach whose mission is to help people live life by their own design and create true freedom in life. And Tanya works as a well-respected nurse aide by profession. So Kimanzi and Tanya, can you guys please tell us a little bit about yourself and how you met each other and when you guys decided to get married?
Yeah, we met when I was really young. I was 17 years old, and I was at my first job, which was at Burger King, Burger King in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So I was working at the restaurant, well respected. Tanya transferred in as a manager, and for some reason she just didn't like me. She didn't. The manager there, really, the store manager, really trusted me, gave me a lot of responsibility, and Tanya didn't like that, because I was young and I wasn't a manager. So she made it like her mission to show me that she was in charge. Is that accurate, Tanya?
No, I was an assistant manager, so I was underneath the manager. That's why I had to put hard. I felt like I was so young at being 18 and an assistant manager that I had to get respect from, the employees.
Oh, that's pretty nice. So when did you guys decide to get married?
He was about 17 and a half, and we decided that 3 months after we just started seeing each other, that we wanted to try. He was having a hard time at home, so we were gonna move in, and then he moved in with me, and then we got a place of our own. Yeah,
17. I grew up in a Christian home, and at 17, I just had that rebellious spirit in me. So my parents said, if you don't like the rules, get out. So that's what I did. I left at 17. And so I was living on friends' couches, living on the street for a little bit. But then I was working at Burger King just to make some income. And then I had met Tanya. And it was friction at first. But because, I was pretty much homeless, I was always working. Like anybody who wanted to give up their hours, I would take them. And so I became kind of her go-to person when somebody would call in or some shift need to be covered. She always called me. So we were seeing each other a lot, like a whole lot. So it started off as friction, but then we got to know each other. And then, it started to become more. And I think after 3 months of us knowing each other, we really started dating and hit it off. I had nowhere to go, so Tanya's parents offered that I could stay with them in their guest room. Not us together in this room, them in their guest room. They had some pretty strict rules about that, and her mom was on me like a hawk. Like if I was in the room and I would move around, she'd run in. What are you doing? What's going on? So she was on like a hawk. But during that time, we just dated, got to know each other, really formed a friendship. And it was the day after I turned 18 that, so 6 months after we met, that we got married.
Tanya, how did you feel when Kimanzi told you that he wanted you guys to get married and start a life together?
Well, that was really interesting because I was driving. He didn't have a car. And he told me to pull over one day. And how he proposed was he had this teddy bear and it had a ring on it. And he told me that it was his grandma's ring in Kenya, and that he was proposing with me to this purple diamond ring. And he got on the side of the car, out of the car, and he just proposed, saying that, and he gave me the story of how the ring was in his family for years. But come to find out, it was actually one of those penny rings. But I had the ring until we moved actually here to Hawaii. I forgot to take it off of the teddy bear before donating, but yeah.
So that was a little bit of a fib.
Yeah, I can see that. So you guys decided to get married, and then you got married. How will you guys describe your first year of marriage?
I'm going to say interesting to confrontational. Those are my 2 words. I'll let Tanya say hers.
Yeah, interesting.
Can you guys expound on that?
Because being married so young, I was, a young hothead. And I thought I knew it all. And I was just young. So we didn't learn anything about communication. So our communication was interesting at times.
And trust. But see, you think communication, and I think it's trust, because everywhere I go, he would have to be with me. In my doctor's appointments, he would have to be with me. It's like everywhere I went, he had to be with me.
So yeah, definitely some insecurities in that first year.
Wow, I'm glad you guys shed light on these, because I know there are listeners who can relate to this story, and they are probably even going through that right now. And I know as we go on with the interview, you guys will be able to shed more light into how you were able to resolve these insecurities and issues that you had during the first year. I know with our first year of marriage, there's going to be some adjustment that you have to do. And I know you guys lived together for some months before you decided to get married. After you got married, what kind of adjustments did you guys have to make in order to be able to live together as a married couple?
Well, we lived with her parents, so it was kind of a controlled environment. They were there. They were monitoring things. We paid them rent, but we didn't have all our own bills and our expenses and stuff like that. So when we got our own place, we moved out to a city that was about 20 minutes away from family, so we were kind of out on our own over there. It definitely was an adjustment, having enough money to pay the bills every month. And then when you were late, having the bills collectors and the stress, the money stress that was there. The insecurities, me not realizing that, she needs her space. I just thought we were supposed to be together all the time, so there was some frustrations there. It was just a learning time. And I'm glad there was some, she could talk to her parents, I could talk to my parents. Me and my parents did eventually reconcile, but just having some of their wisdom for some of our interesting conversations definitely helped some heated moments.
Tanya, do you want to add any adjustments that you personally had to go through during that first year?
Well, the first year, within three months after we got married, we found out that we were expecting our first son. That was a big adjustment too, just going through getting to know one another and being balanced away from family, and then, expecting your first kid.
Kimanzi, what was it like after you guys got to know you will have a baby on the way, and, you're having these money issues here and there? What was the whole experience like?
Well, we definitely realized that we need to talk. I mean, it could be something as simple as if your money's low, and it's to the point where it could be trouble, and then you go out and spend money on something dumb and your account goes in negative, that kind of stuff, you learn. You got to talk. You just really got to talk. And so during that first year, we learned how to talk to each other. And then it moved beyond just what I'll call survival talking. It moved into talking where we're excited to talk to each other and tell each other stuff about our day and talk about ideas and dreams and things that we wanted to do.
Nice. Do you guys want to shed light into how you were able to talk peacefully, to be able to merge your finances or discuss your financial situations? Because I know with a lot of newlyweds, the ability to converse with each other or be able to communicate well is an issue. Can you shed light on some of the strategies that you guys used to be able to communicate effectively?
We started creating a budget, especially when we found out we were expecting, to try to save for the baby, a grocery budget. We weren't just going out to eat every night.
Yeah, and then when we did that, we would have little budget meetings. So where we would talk about the finances and then start talking about, how do we move past the point of just kind of surviving? How do we move to where we're actually saving money and putting money in the bank and really thinking about the future? Because Burger King was great. It was great when I was 17, 18, but I needed a real job. We needed a real career. And so we really started talking about what kind of things that we want for our life and our family.
That is really exciting to know, because I know with my marriage, for instance, during that phase, we also had to talk. Communication was a big issue for us. And when we were able to understand that, men and women communicate differently, we were able to talk further and use different strategies to explain to each other what we meant with what we were saying during any conversation that we had. Even though we had some struggles and some conflicts here and there, we were able to use those strategies to resolve those issues. With your marriage, did you guys have any conflict that you had during that first year?
Yeah, well, the biggest thing being my insecurity. That I think a lot of our arguments, everything can be traced back to that. As I said, I grew up in a Christian home, and it was a very strict Christian home, so we weren't allowed to date. So I'd never dated anybody. She was the first person that I had dated. So I just honestly didn't even know how to really be in a relationship like that. So it was definitely something I had to learn. But that insecurity led to a lot of fights and a lot of trust issues.
So Kimanzi, what did you actually do to learn how to overcome the insecurities that you were going through? Did you have to go through a seminar? Did you have to read a particular book? Or did you get someone to talk to you about the insecurities you were going through? Or did you have to talk to Tanya for her to help you overcome this issue that you were experiencing?
I think it was a combination of all of that. Definitely talking to her and her saying, hey, I love you, dummy. You don't have to worry about anything. And then also doing a lot of reading, read a lot of books because I love books. But then also, even though I had rebelled, it was going back to my, because I'm a Christian, so going back to church and then talking to my pastor, and he definitely gave us some really good advice in those first years. I think was really instrumental for us being together today.
That is awesome. So Tanya, whilst Kimanzi was experiencing all of these insecurities, what did you actually do to help him as his wife?
Just had to keep reassuring that everything was going to be okay, that he can just trying to teach him how to just work on our relationship and just keep talking every day. When we got married, the person that married us said, always say to your loved one that something positive. Don't without saying I love you, or something positive to one another. So to this day, I just keep that in mind. Because a lot of times as women, we don't compliment. We forget. We tend to say, we have these problems, why aren't you fixing them or doing it? So I think complimenting him.
That is really good to know. I'm glad you are sharing what you actually did, because I know there will be someone listening who is actually in the same situation and they don't know how to go about it or how to support their husband and wife. And with the insights that you're sharing right now and what you actually did, not just reading from the book, but what you did as a wife for your husband, someone will be able to pick those insights up and be able to apply it in their marriage.
I think, Marcus, the biggest thing for me to realize was that insecurities were my issues. They weren't her issues. So I really, it was me looking inside myself and seeing what was going on with me. Why was I so insecure? And I was really, I was insecure with our relationship, but insecure about myself as a man and some things that I need to work out, like being a provider and being there for her, being strong and being there to listen. Those were just issues that I had to work out with myself. So if there's a man a husband listening to this, just realize those are issues that affect your marriage, but you got to look inside yourself and you got to talk to yourself and work that out with yourself.
I completely agree with what you said. It's all about looking inside and seeing how best you can work on yourself to improve yourself. So, because even if your spouse is willing to help you and you are not willing to help yourself, you'll not be able to move forward with the goal that you want to achieve. With your first year of marriage, I know there will probably be an exciting moment or a really funny thing that happened that when you guys sit down today or tonight to look back into the past, you guys will be able to smile or laugh over all those exciting moments. Do you guys want to share one of those exciting or funny moments with us?
We are working so much. I remember I was at the hospital, and we just had our son, and he wasn't paying it. He was not communicating, and he was actually sleeping through the whole thing. And I was so tired that I had my friends changed our son's first diaper, and I remember him sleeping on the couch in the hospital room, and I actually had to throw the dirty diaper at him to tell him, "Can you please help me?" It woke him up. He had this big thing just fall at him. It was exciting, just to have the baby and to show, he's needed more as a husband and a father.
Yeah, for me, it was definitely, once we got past that initial security, it was working together, because we worked together at a few of those jobs there in the beginning. So there would be fun things like I'd be working in the front or she'd be working in the back, and we'd pass each other notes. Yeah. Or I'd go through, while she was working and I was off, I'd go through the drive-thru or something and come in a car and just they'd ask what you want. I say, I want Tanya, and I'd do goofy stuff like that. And the girls in the restaurant thought it was cute, and just the little things like that.
I'm glad you guys can relate to our listeners with everything that you're doing, because I know with the first year there are a lot of funny moments, and it's those moments that when you look back put a smile on your face and makes you laugh about what you were and where you've been and how you have been able to use your past experience to get to where you are today. I know during the first year Kimanzi, you talked about having insecurities, and Tanya, you talked about communication and how you guys were able to work together to be able to achieve the kind of marriage that you guys have today. What kind of resources or programs or books that you think listeners can get a hold of that would impact their marriage?
Well, I think probably the biggest one that helped us was Love and Marriage.
Is it Love and Respect?
Love and Respect, there you go. Somebody gave us that book way back when, and definitely reading the principles there were a help. And then I'm going to say secondly, probably the Bible, because everything you need to know is in that book.
Yeah. I think the Bible and the Fireproof.
Yeah, the Fireproof.
Yeah, that was a good thing. He did that with me for a while. And then we watched the movie together, and I'm like, wait, that's what you've been doing.
So you've gone through all of these changes, and you've learned a lot about each other as the years go by. You've been married for over 10 years. Is there any activity that you guys do together to continue growing as a married couple, so you don't wake up when the kids are gone away to be like you guys have grown apart or you don't have any interest in common?
Well, moving here, there's a lot that we do together. Now the kids go to school, so we'll go out just for something as simple as Starbucks. We both like to run. So we'll run together and exercise together and talk together. Being in Hawaii, we're a mile away from the ocean. So
we like to snorkel.
Yeah, snorkel together.
How is it like? Is this really fun snorkeling?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, you see, swimming in the ocean, it's terrifying, but it's exciting because there's just so much life underneath there. And I'm terrified of sharks. So I don't go too far, but you see some nice eels, some nice stingrays and fish. There's just so much life down there. And so we like to just go together and hold each other's hands. And when we
watch the sunset.
Yeah.
Wow, it looks like you guys are really having a lot of fun in Hawaii.
Yeah, it's a pretty place.
Nice. So Kimanzi and Tanya, before we end today's episode, I want you guys to share one lesson or advice that you think or believe would have helped you guys during your first year of marriage.
I think the biggest thing was something that a very wise man had told me. He sat me down and said, if you have a problem with your spouse, the problem is really with yourself.
Wow.
And
that's actually pastor.
Yeah, that was an eye-opener right there. Because everybody has little quirks and little irritating things that they have, like Tanya bites her nail and that just
irritates.
Yeah, it's irritating. And then I'm sure I'll let her say what it is about me. I know there's a lot. But stuff like that in the first year, it's like, stop, why are you doing that? That's irritating, and it just leads to confrontation. Whereas, when he said it's not about them, it's about you, that was my problem. Was it that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things? No, not. Who cares? It's not going to be something that it's going to be a big deal 5 years down the road. So I had to realize, like, a lot of those things, we have quirks, and I got to get used to them, and it can't be something that I'm ready to start a fight over. And when I did think that I have a problem with her, anything that came up as a problem in my mind, I had to step back and say, is this really a problem, or is there something going on with you? And that was the biggest thing that helped me.
I really like the perspective of the advice that you received, as in you're looking at yourself and looking at what you can do to make the situation better.
I know that the first year of our marriage, Kimanzi was, even now, he doesn't really tend to want to go to a lot of social events. He likes to go with coffee and he likes to spend time with me or the family. But when it goes to like dinner dates or, coffee time with other people or even church, like picnics or that, he's not social. He's not an introvert, right?
I'm an introvert, yeah.
Yeah, he's an introvert. And I can just keep busy. I just want to help, and I just want to be...
She's an extrovert.
And, I just have that nursing, like, I just want to help others, and I'm just really social. We've had to work through that with my expectations of him going out, because it would even be like dragging him to Christmas once a year. It's like, seriously, you can't go, you can't put a smile on your face. But he's been really good now. I know not to ask too much of him. Like, maybe 2 times a month, or not, I'm not going to pull him every Saturday, especially with him being so busy. It's nice that he makes time to, make exception to see that he's also social now, not to how I would love him to be, but.
To be fair, Marcus, if it was her, we would be doing something like every hour of the day. We'd be at some kind of function, some kind of hanging out with some kind of people. So yeah, she's an extrovert to the extreme. I'm an introvert to the extreme. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm really thankful that you guys came on to the show today to share your experience with us. How best can we reach you guys if we want to connect with you?
You could head to kimanziconstable.com. That's KIMANZICONSTABLE. You can Google it, and you'll probably get close because there's not a lot of Kimanzi Constables. Or you could go to livingorexistingbook.com, and that'll take you to kimanziconstable.com. But it has all the social media links, everything. You'll see some pictures of Tanya and the kids there. You could definitely find both of us there.
Kimanzi, I know you have an excellent book that our listeners will love to know more about. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, that book is called Are You Living or Existing? 9 Steps to Change Your Life. And it's pretty much just the story of us changing our lives. 3-4 years ago, we would call existing. We dreamed about moving to Hawaii. We dreamed about losing weight. We dreamed about quitting a bread job that I hated, but we didn't do anything about it. And then my father died in 2012. He died of a heart disease suddenly, and we didn't even know he was sick. And so that kind of was the wake-up call that we realized how short life was. And, Tanya got behind it, and she's like, we just got to go for all these dreams. And so that's one thing I could say, that I love the most about her. She's always been supportive, even with some of like the crazy, goofy ideas that I've had. She's always been supportive. So, I wrote the book. I launched it out there to the world as a self-published book. She was there helping me promote it all the way. And the book went on to do pretty well. And then, we both lost a ton of weight together. And so that was part of our journey. And then, of course, the last piece was moving out here to Maui. So that the book kind of chronicles our journey, and it has a lot of the things that we talked about with you here, Marcus. We're just really honest in that book about how it was being married and then trying to do all this stuff at the same time. It was definitely interesting at times, but we went through 3 years of struggle, and now we're living our dream life.
That is really fantastic. Our listeners, I'll be putting all the links to the resources that Kimanzi talked about, and his book that he talked about, which is Are You Living or Existing, all in the show notes. Kimanzi and Tanya, thank you guys for coming on today's episode. I'm really glad you guys came out here to share your experience and your first year marriage story with us, the lessons that you learned, and the insights that you're giving to us today is something that I personally will be also applying in my marriage to move forward and improve my marriage as we continue to grow as a married couple. I'm really glad you came to share your journey with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
We hope you learned a lot from Kimanzi and Tanya's first-year marriage story. They have a special offer for their book. starting November 5th through the November 8th. When you buy the book, you get access to a class for free. For more details, visit firstyearmarriage.com/areyouliving, or the link will be in the show notes, as well as all the other links and resources from this show. Thank you for listening to another episode of the First Year Marriage Show. To submit a question, feedback, or suggestions for the podcast, visit firstyearmarriage.com/feedback. Apply what you've learned today and build a strong foundation for the happy, healthy, and lasting marriage you desire. Enjoy your marriage. Enjoy your life.